Hi, this is Rod Faulkner, and you are listening to the SeventhMatrix.com Eye on Sci-Fi podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of the SeventhMatrix.com Eye on Sci-Fi podcast. The podcast where we share with you terrific indie, science fiction, and fantasy, online short films and web series, as well as conversations with fascinating filmmakers and other creatives. Thank you for listening. Most of us, at some point in our lives, have had the fantasy of receiving a large and valuable inheritance from a mysterious relative. Well, in the science fiction short film that I'm going to share with you this episode, that is exactly the premise. It has also become almost cliché to describe a science fiction project as similar to television anthology series like The Outer Limits, Netflix's Black Mirror, or Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone. But in the case of the short film, Box 616, the descriptor is apropos. Box 616 was written and directed by filmmaker Mitch Glass, and it tells the story of Malcolm, portrayed by actor Nick Rua. Malcolm inherits a vast bank vault from his late grandfather. With the assistance of the pretty peculiar bank manager, portrayed by Gary Bristow, Malcolm takes possession of the vault and gains entry. What he discovers inside is a mind-bending secret from 70 years in the past. It is also a secret that will have major repercussions and implications for his life in the present. Box 616 works without needing to rely on overdone, or worse, poorly done visual effects. It succeeds on the merits of its absolutely absorbing premise, tense atmosphere it creates, and its sterling production design. In fact, the short was made for a minuscule budget and shot in an actual bank vault. But from the look of it, you would think that it cost many millions of dollars. Mitch Glass's tight direction and the impressive production design combine to create a speculative narrative that is charged with mystery and intrigue. Box 616 is well executed and riveting. It is also a proof of concept for a potential feature or series, and I for one are keeping my fingers crossed that comes to fruition. You can watch the short currently on the YouTube channel of the sci-fi short film exhibitor Dust. It is, again, a compelling and riveting sci-fi narrative about secrets from the past and how those secrets can affect our life here in the future. Of course, a link to our full published review and to where you can watch Box 616 will be included in the show notes of this episode. Just visit the7thmatrix.com and navigate to podcast, or use the direct link, the7thmatrix.com/EOSF podcast to access not only the show notes of this episode, but an archive of show notes from all of our previous episodes as well. I also want to take a moment and send a special shout out to a very special podcast. Summer Brooks is the producer of the long-running Slice of Sci-Fi podcast that has been releasing episodes since 2005. Slice of Sci-Fi covers genre entertainment in all of its media iterations. So if you're a fan of science fiction, horror, fantasy, definitely, if you haven't already, subscribe and add this podcast to your playlist. I'm also going to include a link to the Slice of Sci-Fi website, so that from there you can investigate the podcast and find out where you can go to listen. I know that they're available on Apple Podcasts and many other podcast platforms. They have been very kind and supportive of us here at the Eye on Sci-Fi podcast, and we are definitely returning the favor. They are an excellent group of passionate sci-fi fans who have been covering genre media for over a decade. So again, definitely check them out, subscribe, and lend them your support. Thanks. Hey everyone, Rod Faulkner here, and before I sign off, I needed to ask your help. Ever since the7thmatrix.com came online in 2013, we have been sharing terrific indie science fiction and fantasy, online short films, and web series on the site ad-free. However, in order to continue our work, we need your help. If you would, please visit the7thmatrix.com/support in order to learn all of the ways in which you can help us continue to do the work that we do. You can make a donation via our PayPal button, become a monthly supporter via Gumroad, or purchase our science fiction and fantasy short film guide that contains over 30 hours of outstanding indie science fiction and fantasy short films. Or you can choose to support one of the Eye on Sci-Fi podcast sponsors. But either way, your support is vital to us, and we thank you. And that is it for this episode of the 7thmatrix.com Eye on Sci-Fi podcast. Thank you again for listening. Please subscribe to us via Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or Google Play Music, or wherever you're listening. And if you're listening via Apple Podcast, leave us a review and rating. That really helps others find us, and I really appreciate that too. Visit the7thmatrix.com to check out all the sensational indie science fiction and fantasy, short films, and web series we have curated and collected there. Sign up for our newsletter so that our latest discoveries will be sent directly into your inbox. So, until next episode, everyone, remember, take a break, escape the mundane, and enter the fantastic. Take care.